the things I do for family. Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to a very special opening night. So this is a Patreon exclusive requested opening night review from my sister, who has been donating to our Patreon very graciously. And for those who want me to talk about some other movies on Patreon on opening night as requested, $1 or more on donate to our Patreon. I can't even speak right now because of this. $1 more will get you early access to all of our content on Patreon, as well as other special features, but you donate $5 a month, you can request me to watch any movie you want, as long as it stays in the bounds of what's okay, but any movie you want. So my sister decided to do the unthinkable and make me watch once a month. I'm going to be doing this once a month. A franchise that has been despised by the internet, despised by a lot of people, and she knows I'm not the biggest fan of it, let alone have only watched one of the films. That, of course, being the Twilight Saga, the ever so joyous, so bad, they're great, or just pieces of AIDS-inducing bloody shit stains of movies. Oh, and today we have to watch the first one. The first Twilight film that came out in 2008, almost, 15 years ago, close enough? I don't know, it's been over a decade. And these movies are not well received. They are not. And it tells the story of Bella, get it, because Bella Lugosi, moving to a Washington State town, which I had no clue was in this movie, which, I'm so sorry, Nick Jackson, you have to live in the same state as Twilight. Why couldn't you be in Vancouver, for fuck's sakes? But anyway, she has moved away from home and is living in this small little tiny little town, in a peaceful town, and comes across a few little buddies here and there, but most notably a character named Edward Cullen, played by Robert Pattinson, and Kristen Stewart plays Bella. And they strike an okay hit it off, I guess, and it turns out he has superhuman strength. He can go the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog. He can have super strength like Superman. And it turns out he's a vampire, and his whole family is a vampire. And there's all this weird shit going on and everything, and there's a little tiny love story added into the mix, into the money. Oh boy. Now, most people do not like this movie. In fact, they say the Twilight Saga is the Room of vampire movies, meaning they are so bad they're hilarious. They are so bad they're good. And while I say that, yes, there are moments in this movie that are pretty unintentionally funny, This movie is... Oh, no! Let's try this again. This movie is never... This movie is not... It's not... It's not... It's not... Fuckers! I can see the sparkles. Just let me say it, you pussies! I just lost.
we need to give the peoples entrances. Yes, we must give them what they want, Princess. Well, we have a different dependencies, don't we, Princess? No, we hate this movie. We are like everyone else's, Princess. This movie was a piece of vampire pussy shit. No, it actually was a terrible process. What the? Well, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. It actually was not that process. The fuck is wrong, Precious? You dumb idiots. It was horrible. The writing came from Stephanie Meyer's corpses. Her Princess doesn't know what to say about the Twilight. Says we need to please our friends. Yes, but we also need to please our sisters. No, fuck the peoples. Your sister was terrible. You took $5 for this shit. Are you fucking kisses? I mean, to be honest, the writing wasn't that bad. And also, for what they were given, the actors did a decent job, Princess. Good Lord, you're living in your 13-year-old fan fictions, aren't you? You see nothing but inner justices in this, don't you, Princess? Okay, we'll have to figure something out here, Princess, because we can't keep doing these stick and level videos. Look, okay, our Golems is actually pretty good, Princesses, but we can't keep quoting Lord of the Rings all day. Well, to be fair, we are better than the Twilight is, Princess. Even those bloody Hobbits movies. Yeah, that's true. We are way better than... Okay, so let's give our honest opinions and then we'll call to break your kisses. No, we must always hate that. I got you McDonald's if you behave this. McDonald's, Princess? Okay, just this once. But I want a filet of castle fishes so juicy sweets. Would you like a butterscotch sundaes with us? Oh, no butterscotch sundaes on my filet of fishes. It tastes awful. It tries to choke us. Okay, no butterscotch sundaes. Let's actually give the peoples what they want, okay? Okay, let's give these stupid fat hobbitses what they want. Okay, so let's stop now.
What the fuck? Why is my phone light on? That's weird. It's like for dramatic effect or something. But anyway, the first Twilight movie. I'm gonna be honest, guys. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was expecting a big hunk of shit. Like a big, smelly turd of a shit. This was more like a shit that was sprayed on with some air freshener. Well, not air freshener, more like a bit of potpourri added to it, where, yeah, it's still a turd, but it doesn't smell as bad. And I honestly mean that. The first movie, I have seen way worse movies than this, honestly. Like, yeah, these are bad movies, don't get me wrong. Like, they're not my partay, per se. Like, I like my vampire movies, I like my Dracula, I like my Dracula, but other than that, it's just, it wasn't terrible. In fact, it was kind of watchable. It reminded me a lot of the 2017 Power Rangers movie. Now, that movie's not good, but it's at least watchable. But this one kind of had the same vibe in the color and the cinematography and all that, and you could tell this movie was definitely low budget, but it was good for what it was. Like, for what they had, obviously Stephanie Meyer is not a great writer, per se, but the filmmakers and the actors, with what they were given for source material, they tried. And, you know, again, it's not my forte, but, you know, the acting wasn't that bad in this movie. There's some questionable moments, there's some cheesy bits, but they're funny. Like, I actually had a few laughs at this movie. Like, it wasn't intentionally funny, like this isn't a comedy, but you can laugh at how ridiculous this is. I see a lot of different things from, like, stuff I do like in this movie. For example, obviously you have Edward and Jacob's growing tensions with Bella. It's not really represented in this movie. It's more I heard in the next one. But it's very Inuyasha and Koga with Kagome. And speaking of which, I'm sorry, when fucking Edward has Bella on her back and is running through the fucking woods like goddamn Sonic the Hedgehog, I was just hearing the whole time the score to Inuyasha. Like, I was expecting Edward to go, "Let's go, Kagome!" I mean, Bella. You know, it's like, it kind of had that feeling to it. And again, Robert Pattinson, the actors, they're not half bad either. Again, they're just whatever crap writing they were given, they did the best they could. I actually thought Edward was, like, Robert was okay in this. Like, he wasn't terrible. He does some questionable things, don't get me wrong, but again, he wasn't a bad actor. Hell, the scene where, like, Bella's about to get completely fucked by these, like, gang motherfuckers, which is in the middle of this really shitty town, he comes in like goddamn Batman on the fucking Batmobile, so all I was thinking was, ba-da-da-da-da, like, I was expecting, you know, it was like Batman. I was like, okay, you know what, I can kind of see why they cast him. He has the look. I mean, he was young in this movie, but now he's buffed to shit, so there's that. Kristen Stewart wasn't that bad either. There's times where she pulls off a few goofy faces. It looks like sometimes she's got, like, brown eyeliner completely around her eyes, but again, she wasn't horrible. And, you know, I mean, again, it's probably because I've seen Snow White and the Huntsman, and I actually thought she was decent in that. And, you know what, the other actors, the other characters aren't half bad. The family's nice. The bad guys they look like the Black Eyed Peas, which even Vampire Suck made fun of that shit. But then on top of that, you know, there's the dad is great. You know what? I felt the dad. Am I the only one who feels like that should have been Billy Bob Thornton? Like, it looks like a very Billy Bob Thornton performance, but maybe he was like, God, I don't want to be a part of this shit. So maybe it was that, but, you know, it felt like a role he was meant to be in. But it's just, yeah, I mean, there's parts of it that aren't good. It's not really well edited, I'll say that for sure. The effects are terrible. But you gotta remember, first movie, it was a very low budget, so they had to do with what they had. But at the same time, lights out again. It wasn't terrible. Like, it was watchable. And I can't say any about the sequels minus Breaking Dawn Part 1, which I have seen, which I will watch again in a couple of months. But, yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. Like, I've seen worse. You know what? I can name a few movies that are way worse than this film. Hunchback 2 is worse than this. Three Musketeers 3D is worse than this. Anything by the Asylum is worse than this. This is not bad. Like, this is one of those movies where it's like, you know, it's kind of like High School Musical. Yeah, it's a piece of shit, but you can kind of watch it once and get the gist of it. And again, it actually came out around the same time. Or I don't know, did High School Musical come out first? I'm not a big I don't know any of this bullshit, but it was just an okay sit. It wasn't anything to write home about. So, yeah, I'm surprised that it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was dreading doing this review. I was dreading watching this movie. But I actually thought it wasn't it wasn't terrible. It's bad, but I've seen worse. So I guess the first Twilight film, it's been over a decade. A lot of people bashed it, but I think maybe because I've watched it a decade after its release and I've never seen it before, maybe I can get past what a lot of the hatred was, and I'm like, you know, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, Katie, my sister, was setting this up to be the worst thing ever, but I actually was surprised it wasn't that bad. The cast is okay. They're given they do the best with what crappy writing is given. They're not, you know, they're not doing, like, terrible jobs. They're not, at least this wasn't Tommy Wiseau. The characters are okay. It does set up for a sequel, which they always fucking do. I'm so sick of that. Can we just have one good, like, a movie that doesn't set up for a sequel, and then when it's a hit, then you make the second one? God, plan everything ahead. It's ridiculous. But I thought it was bad, but it wasn't terrible. So I'd say this is about a good 4 out of 10. I mean, again, it's not good, but it's lower average, you know, about a low average, essentially. It was passable. It was watchable. Is it something I'd watch again? If my sister was here, I'd probably watch it if it was on a TV, because fuck it. It might be good for a few friends to sit down and just kind of laugh at, but I don't know what to say. I'm not the target audience for this, obviously, but I thought it wasn't that bad. So yeah, a 4 out of 10. I've seen worse, but it's still, so I don't know. Let's see what happens in the second one next month. So, again, a big thank you to our Patreon sponsor for this episode, my sister, Katie, who donated $5 a month for me to review these movies. If you guys want to recommend a movie or request a movie for opening night, go check out our Patreon. It's $5 a month, and you can pick one movie a month for me to talk about, whichever you want. So, what are your thoughts on Twilight? Let me know in the comments section below. And, I pretty much know everything about the rest of the series, but I do want to see what part 2 is like. So, join me next week on opening night. I've gotten a request from, our good friend JT is Reborn. We had a little game going on our live stream where we both pick a movie. He watches one movie I recommend, and he watches a movie I'd recommend. He's watching, I believe, both Three Musketeers, the Disney film, which is a great movie, and I also recommended the 1975 Zorro along with The Mask of Zorro. So look forward to what he does. And as for me, I gotta take a look at King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. And I've heard it's this legendary, god-awful, it's good, bad movie. So, I'll have to see what happens. I might have to watch this on a couple of drinks or something and just laugh my ass off, but I'm curious to see what this is about, because I do like King Arthur. Personal favorites being Excalibur, Quest for Camelot, Dragonheart, and First Knight. But, oh, excuse me. Regardless, let's see what happens. So, until the next video, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off, saying, thanks, sister. Can't wait till next month. Oh, this is gonna be a long few months. Later.